Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Genealogy Chat, the St. Patrick's Day edition. It's March 17th. We're coming to you from the Willenard Genealogy Center, a service of the Eckhart Public Library. And you just heard traditional music from Andrew Laverghetta. And Andrew, please tell us the name of this song. Tell us a little bit about your instrument and about yourself.
In true fashion, I do not know the name of that tune, but that's kind of the thing that happens when you're playing like traditional Irish music. It's usually like in a pub setting and that kind of stuff. And the thing that I always remember is everybody's like, "Oh, hey, what was the name of that tune?" And the person's like, "I don't know. I played that like 5 years ago, and it just came into my mind or whatever." But it's kind of like a tin whistle, like a penny whistle. Or an Irish whistle, depending upon what you want to call it. You can call it a fipple flute as well. It's basically a tube that has a block in it here, and it blows across it. So it's kind of like it's not a recorder, but it's very similar to one. It does not have a hole on the back of it at all. It's just on the front, six holes. This is a big one. This is a low whistle.
So what can you tell us about the designer?
It's not a very complicated instrument. This one was made by Carey Whistles. It's a Thunderbird. And it was just all machine, so it's very modern. But like, the last name is Clark. There's somebody that made some of the beginning ones. And it was just made out of tin. And it had a conical bore, so it got smaller at the end than it was at the top. And it had a block of wood, and it was just kind of crimped with pliers. To be able to make a sound. So you just kind of sit around and play stuff after you get off work or something like that. So yeah, jigs and reels and things like that.
How long have you been playing musical instruments?
I've been playing
similar to this.
I've been playing flute, sideways flute, silver flute, since I was 11. So it's kind of like my Hogwarts letter. Instead of going to Hogwarts, I got a flute. And somewhere in there, I picked up a whistle from my dad. He got me one of the Clark tin whistles, and then probably 5 or a little bit more years ago is when I kind of got back into whistling, I'll call it. Yeah.
So do you prefer to play the flute or the whistle?
It depends on what I'm playing, because if I'm playing like classical things, I'll play my I'm going to call it a silver flute. And it has keys, and you can play flats and sharps a lot easier. But I do actually have a wooden flute that is like almost the same size, and it's made out of wood, and it has the embouchure hole here, so you can play it like that. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it just has a different feeling here. And I have like a high, like a soprano whistle as well, but that's not probably as easy to adjust the levels for. So I figured I'd just play this one instead.
And is this an alto or
we just call it a low whistle.
Low whistle.
Yeah.
Okay. What can you tell us about the history?
I think that's the main thing. That it's just something. It was just a simple instrument that could be made. Just drill some holes in it and such like that, and or carve them in there depending upon what it was made out of, and just play. Just play something. I don't think they're too complicated. I could try to look it up on the computer here, but I don't think it's too complicated. It's almost the flute that I have, or is almost the same as this, the wooden flute. And then when they switched, I don't remember what it was. I feel like it was going into the 1900s. They started adding keys onto it. And then that's how you got into the flute of today, because they have the flutes that are like this, and then they do start to put a key onto them right here at some point, and then that opens a hole that's over here, and then they add a key on here, that opens a hole that's over here, and then they put like a key over here that opens a hole down here. So it just kind of, it starts from this kind of thing, and then they just change it from there. So.
Do you know much about the history of the flute?
I mean, there are a lot of different kind of flutes. That's kind of like if we're talking about the keyed like silver flute. I mean, that's really how that was coming. It was coming from the simple system, and then I think the BAME or BOEHM or BOEM, however you pronounce it, where you're from, system of flute, is a bit different. It's like where you add on more of those keys and do things a little bit differently and such, and that's where they added in like the thumb for B or B flat, whereas this one, again, like I said, doesn't have a hole down there. Yeah, and then other flute makers have changed that as time has gone by, and they've added stuff to accommodate the harder repertoire, whereas you don't really have repertoire when you're playing this. You have tunes that somebody has taught you. Of course, now you have apps on your phone that you can use to look up music for traditional tunes, but usually it would have just been like learning when you're in the pub, so to speak, I guess. Just picking something up. So that's what I've tried to do, but you will see me kind of, if I'm like J.K. O'Donnell's downtown Fort Wayne or whatever, I've got my phone on my knee if I'm playing something that I haven't played before.
So you say they also make wooden flutes. What's the difference in the tone or how it's played?
How it's played isn't going to be very different. The care is the biggest thing that you notice, because you have to oil them, or else they can crack. If they sit and they get warm and cold and hot and cold, hot and cold, and they dry out, they can crack. Whereas the oil is helping that. But otherwise, the sound is going to be warmer. So it's hard to describe. It's warmer. Sweeter, I guess. Usually a little bit more pleasing. But that's not to say that ones that are nice like this aren't going to be pleasing. They just have a different sound to them. This has a brighter sound, is what I'll say. Even though it's low and mellow.
Do you have a wooden version?
I don't have a wooden whistle. I have the wooden flute. The wooden whistle, funny enough, there had been a whistle maker in Fort Wayne, Patrick O'Riordan, and he had been at the Johnny Appleseed Festival for some years. And I believe he's from someplace in Ireland, but he had found his way to Indiana somehow. And back in like middle school, my parents were like, "Hey, the Cherish the Ladies group, Irish group that travels the world, the lead whistler or flutist, she has a whistle from this guy. She plays this guy's whistles." And my parents were like, "Hey, we should get you one of those." I'm like, "That's not important. I don't really play that right now." And now that he's passed away, it's very difficult to get one of the whistles that he made, because they're often sold for $1,000 or so, maybe less, maybe more, but it's just a lot harder to get hold of them. So I kick myself wishing that I would have actually gotten one of those at the time. It is a wooden whistle, and you can actually find videos of him on YouTube in his little workshop with the lathe and that kind of stuff, and cutting in and turning the wood and that kind of thing. So yeah, but wood someday. But what I have now is more than enough.
Yes, it's wonderful. So what's your favorite tune to play? Do you have one?
I've just played kind of slow things, but I don't know how it would sound on here. I can try to get the other whistle and see how that sounds. Should I do that?
Yes.
Can you get me the other one that's over there? We're going to need to turn down the volume a bit more.
Ooh, what can you tell us about this? How is the tone, the sound, how is it different
It's going to be higher because that one is obviously lower. That's going to be in the same octave or same tone range as a flute, as you would think if somebody says flute, that. Whereas this is going to be more like a piccolo almost. But this was made by I don't remember. I think he's in he's in Illinois or Missouri. Michael something. I'll come back. I'll post this in the comments or whatever. One of them from Joni Madden, who was in Cherish the Ladies, has I'm going to call it a slow air that she plays that I really like. So it's Waves of Kilkee. I remember that one. I remember that thing. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Wonderful.
So that's more of an
Terrific.
air. And then that other one that I played was more of a kind of a slow slip jig, I think.
What's the difference?
So an air, I don't know exactly the specific what makes something an air. I know it's slower, but it would be a song, more of a song-based kind of thing. A slip jig, so a jig is something that's in like 6/8 time, I guess. So it would be like dun 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 dun. 1, 2, 1, 2. But it would have that triplet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But a slip jig has 3 of those. So like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Dun 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 dun. And then like a reel. Should I play a reel?
Yes.
Ready? So that's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's got, instead of that triplet feel, that lilting kind of bouncing kind of waltz feel, it's got like a more of a so you imagine somebody out dancing on like a sheet of plywood with some sand on it, or maybe not sand, but some kind of hard surface that's so as often music is based on dance. So. So that's why I'm saying it's a dance style instead of a music style. But, so mazurkas and waltzes and things like that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you'll come back later in the show.
I'm sure you'll see me.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Yay! This is a real treat. Thank you. My, that was exciting. I can listen to that all day. But I guess we'll move on back to genealogy. In the last episode, we discussed a little bit about the 4-generation pedigree chart, where you start with yourself and you work back to your parents and your grandparents with their names, the place of birth, death, and marriage, and so forth. And then from this, you move into resources and sites such as Ancestry to find more about their birth, marriage, and so forth. So I'm just going to do a review of how you can download charts and forms from our website. You go to, excuse me, the Eckhart Public Library website and click on Library Resources, and then scroll down the page to the Genealogy Center section, and then this is our main page. You scroll down a little bit past the different things, and then you find the section for genealogy forms, and there you'll find your family tree, the ancestor charts, and yes, thank you, ancestor charts and so forth. And you can download these and use them anytime. So because it's our Irish show, I'm going to talk a little bit about some resources that you can use to find your Irish ancestors, but these also work for ancestors from any country as well. And the first one I want to talk about is Ancestry.com. This is available while you're on campus at one of our 3 locations, the main, the teen, or genealogy. And to access that, you go back to our website and select resources, and then scroll down the page to genealogy. And Ancestry, you have to pay for it, but on campus it's free. And then you scroll down to Ancestry Library Edition, and then you can do a search for family, your birth certificates, death certificates, and so forth. And later in the show, we're going to demonstrate how to locate some resources, some people, using Ancestry.com. Another source I recommend is going to FamilySearch.org. That's a free site, and there it is. And that's a wonderful site for any country, any family history, and specifically for Irish ancestors. And all of this will be on our website. It's called Irish Ancestors, and it's free. And you can do a search by name. It's people specifically from Ireland, goes back a couple hundred years. And another good Irish website for genealogy is called Irish Genealogy. And there it is. And that's another free site, and you can do research on your family going back 200 years or so. And the last free website I recommend for Irish ancestors is to do a passenger search at Ellis Island. If you arrived before, I believe it's 1873, if your family arrived before 1873, they passed through Ellis Island. And you can do a search for anybody who passed through Ellis Island. You can create a free account and do a very detailed search. It'll show the ship that the people came on, the city, the state, and the name, and the family who would have traveled with them on the ship to land in Ellis Island. So the next portion of the show, we have a special guest. His name is Zach Hymek, and there he is.
He's arrived. He's appeared.
There you are, just magically appeared.
Yep.
And I see you're wearing green, as well as Andrew wore green. Everybody on the show is wearing green.
The library swag.
That's right.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your family, Zach.
Yeah, well, like anybody's family, the list goes long, but we had talked about our family history a little bit over in our respective where people came from, and yeah, it turns out using the library's ancestry resources, we found some interesting history on the family. So since we're talking St. Patrick's Day, I'll talk a little bit about my Irish ancestry, which a lot of people have a lot more of, but it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet situation with the Blakeleys and the McClures. So those would have been my great-great-grandparents, and met each other. One was a family of an innkeeper, another were farmers, and there was a little bit of tension there. And apparently, Miss McClure and Mr. Blakely fell in passionate love and abdicated Ireland and came to the United States and got married. And I actually found they had a young woman, and she was my great-grandmother, and found her marriage records on Ancestry, so we can show that a little later. But yeah, I thought we could show a little bit about how to use Ancestry to find interesting records about your family and see the original documents, which I think is kind of cool.
Yes, it is. So lay it on us.
Yeah. Yeah, so as Jane said, Ancestry at the library you can use for free as long as you are on the library campus or on the library network. And so we demonstrated that a little bit earlier, and how to get there, once again, just real quick, you click on library services from our main page, and go down, let me back up. We're going to resources actually. For genealogy, and go down to the family tree looking part, and then hit Ancestry from there. And as long as you're on, like I said, the library network or library computer, you can get to that page. So I thought a really interesting thing to look up would be my great-grandfather on my dad's side, who came from Norway. Not particularly Irish related, but I'll show you how to do that, for example. So you go to search, hit all categories. Actually, I'm going to go immigration and travel, narrow it down a little bit more. So his name was Ole Christian Gunderson. And then you can hit search. And you can narrow it down a little bit up here. So kind of instead of anything sounding like Old Christian, you can go all the way down to the exact list. And then you can kind of filter results because there will be a lot of stuff. But so for example, I found this, which is kind of neat.
Yes, so what is it?
So this is his Naturalization Petition. So he was born in Norway, came over when he was a very young man with very little resources, and he moved into Brooklyn, New York, and this is his petition to be naturalized as a U.S. citizen. So if we zoom in a little bit here, you can see, and there are thousands upon thousands of these for people. But you can go down and see here he is, Ole Christian Gunderson. He was living at 929 55th Street in Brooklyn, New York. He's a carpenter. It's just kind of interesting to see, like, 1919. I thought this was kind of interesting. Our old immigration parameters. So first you have to basically say you're not an anarchist.
Oh.
And the second petition for becoming a U.S. citizen is that you are not a polygamist or a believer in polygamy. You have to specify. So you're not an anarchist, number one. Number two, the second most important thing, you're not a polygamist. So he certified that, and it was really interesting. It was 103 years ago this week that he petitioned to be a U.S. citizen.
Oh.
And the really thing that just blows my mind is that's my great-grandfather on my father's side. My great-grandfather on my mother's side became a U.S. citizen 24 hours before Ole Christian petitioned. to be a citizen.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's wild.
What are the
two different,
odds?
Two
Yeah.
different side of families. So, Carl Nielsen from Sweden becomes a citizen in Chicago, and 24 hours later, old Christian applies to be a citizen in New York. And it just blows my mind. Say within 24 hours.
Wow.
So we really haven't been here that long, and it's just neat to look back and see things like this. And one of the people who certified him as a person of good character was his wife. So he had a good in there. But yeah, just really neat. And I actually, so for example, right here it says 929 55th Street in Brooklyn. I wanted to see, hey, is that, where is that? So I just Googled it on Google Maps, and there it is. And you can see the address in Brooklyn, where they lived. And you can that was really neat to me to see, where it was that they actually came, and he went to a church that spoke English or spoke a different language than English, and ran a laundromat, and just really interesting to kind of look. You can see the address right there, 929.
That's amazing. The
And
house in which they lived. The
Yeah,
actual house.
about 5-6 blocks from the coast to see the Statue of Liberty. Wow. So it's just neat resources.
It is.
Yeah. Do you know much about your family history, or?
Well, my mother's side, I do. They moved to the United States before the Revolutionary War, and landed in North Carolina. My father's side of the family, I don't know much. Before the Civil War, after the Civil War. Well, no, in 1866, one of them was born in Kentucky on the way to Illinois.
But the other side, before the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nice. What states were they in?
North Carolina, and then Kentucky, Indiana, and then Central Illinois. Wow. Yeah.
And do you know where they originally came from? What countries they came from? Were they?
No, I don't. I haven't traced any further back than that.
Well,
but I can.
You're in a good spot to do that.
Now that you have demonstrated how to use Ancestry.com, I can locate my ancestors.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they're and speaking of my great grandfather Carl, we were able to find his marriage records and things like that on here as well, which is just really fascinating to look at. But, yeah.
So where were they married?
They were married in Michigan, and I can probably find that again. I'm not sure.
It's just amazing the things which are available on Ancestry.
So here we go.
And we're learning so much from you, Zach.
Well, here's Michigan's marriage records. Let me navigate out a little bit.
And how did you find this?
So same process. Get on Ancestry. You can search marriage records. So I searched Ella Blakely, which was my great-grandmother's name, and found her. And then you can zoom down, and she was born to those Irish parents in Michigan. Let me see if we can find her name. So right there. Zoom in. It's amazing the quality of scans they have here too. So she was 26 years old, living in Michigan. John Carl Nelson was 32. He's from Sweden, listed as an engineer. And so then you just have the kind of certifications. July 5th, 1916, which is my mom's birthday. So that, but yeah, just really interesting stuff. It's fun to see both the records, and then to hear, the family oral history part of the drama family scandal and but yeah, it's neat to look up and think about what they experienced and stuff like that.
It is.
Yeah. It's fun.
Well, thank you so much, Zach,
You're very well.
for showing us how to use Ancestry.com.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me, Jane. It's good to see you over here.
I hope you'll come back, Zach.
Yep,
Please do.
I'll wear fancier sweatshirts.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm ready to learn more about Ancestry.com. I sure am, and thank you so much, Zach. I think to end the program, we'll listen to some more traditional Irish music played by Andrew Laverghetta.
Can you bring up the computer again?
So, oh, yes.
Cool. I'm going to go to this website because I don't want to. thesession.org. If you like Irish music and you'd like to see some if you read music and such, as a lot of the traditional players don't actually, this website is here so you can actually see tunes. So you can go to tunes, and these are all stuff that you can just kind of look at, print, all that kind of fun stuff. Let's look at the Swallowtail. Is that the one that I played? One of these I played. That's not one that I played. Let's look at the Butterfly. This is a slip jig, it says. What was that? A Fig for a Kiss that I played?
So most of these songs are written by Irish.
I
Irish,
think so. Let's play that one. I'm going to bring that. You can follow along if you'd like to. Ready?
I'm ready.
That's not. This isn't what I just played, I don't think.
So what is the name of the song?
That was, and I'll bring that up here, that was The Butterfly.
And the name of the website?
Thesession.org.
Session. I think we have time for one more.
One more?
One more, please.
Let's see here. Should I find something on here? What's something? I don't know. What's something? Banish Misfortune? These are popular tunes. I'm trying to be on popular tunes.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
So do you ever play Danny Boy? I think that's the
That's
most.
the thing that people always ask about, and it's like that's kind of like in sessions we're kind of like, okay. So I can try to find it. Maybe I can. We can go out on that if you want. Maybe
That's fine. Yes.
do this and then that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'll have to look
So
for that.
I
'cause
want to
don't wanna
thank
mess it
my
up.
guests, Andrew and Zach, and we want you to watch next week. Next week is our Academy Awards show. We're going to talk about the history and do some research about a local movie star during the Silent War film. And lay it on us, Andrew. Thank you
right.
so much for watching, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm gonna play that, and then I'm gonna go into a jig. So we'll see how this sounds. It might not go together well. I won't.
So tell us again, what's the name of the
This
website?
is thesession.org.
So that's our show. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.